Hi everyone, welcome back to Best Recapped Movie. Nobody is a 2021 American action thriller film directed by Ilya Naishuller and written by Derek Kolstad. The film follows a mild-mannered family man who returns to his former life as an assassin as he and his family become the target of a vengeful crime lord. Spoilers ahead. A severely beaten man reaches into his pocket to take out his cigarette. As he smokes, he slowly removes a can of tuna from his jacket and opens it. He puts the kitten that came out of his jacket on the table. The man and woman sitting at the table ask him, "Who are you?" Hutch Mansell is a seemingly ordinary man. He has 2 children with his wife, Becca, and an unremarkable job as an office clerk at Becca's father's company, Eddie's Metal Fabrication. Daily and repetitive fatigue makes him a tired and impatient person. He usually doesn't reach the garbage truck in the morning. He runs in the street every morning and exercises in a repetitive place of barfix. He goes to work and returns by bus, and it is clear that this repetitive routine has tired him. His son Blake usually shows him no respect, not even bothering to greet him. After a boring day, he goes to bed at night, sleeping on the bed where his wife has placed a pillow between them to separate them. On one of these repeated nights, the neighborhood dog starts barking when Hutch is just sleeping. Hutch gets out of bed and goes to check on the situation. He sees his daughter sleeping peacefully in her bedroom. When he goes down the stairs, he hears the sound of intruders entering the house and sees them entering it to steal. Hutch picks up the golf club. He tries to call the police secretly, but the female thief stops him and demands money. Hutch only shows some crumpled money on the table, which disappoints the female thief. The male thief arrives and asks Hutch for his watch. Hutch notices a tattoo on the annoying woman's wrist that catches his attention. As they demand her wedding ring, her son Blake runs downstairs and runs into the man. Hutch is about to attack the woman with the golf club but controls himself and orders Blake to leave the man's bother. Hutch lets them escape. Blake becomes angry with his father, causing him to become even more distant from his father than before. The police arrive to investigate. Hutch angrily thinks about his decision to stop the intruders. Even the police scold him with disappointing words, and his family, disappointed with him, goes back to bed. Hutch heads downstairs to sleep on the couch, joined by his baby daughter, Sammy. She is the only one who shows him affection. She tells him they need a cat. The next morning, while they're having breakfast, Blake asks Hutch if he can interview him for a project on veterans. Hutch replies that he was just an auditor, and Becca suggests that Blake enlist his uncle's help, an actual soldier, for his investigation. Hutch says Grandpa is a better choice because he saw the operation firsthand. The family leaves home to start their day. Sammy hugs Hutch on the way. The neighbor tells Hutch that he used to beat up the intruders and blames him for it. He brags about his new car and cruelly explains about his father's death and that he just inherited this car from him, and there is nothing to mourn. The fatigue of his week begins again. When he arrives at the factory, Becca's brother-in-law Charlie asks why he never confronted the intruders. He offers Hutch's gun, which he declines. Charlie insists, telling her to keep her sister Becca safe. Hutch places the gun in an empty cardboard box behind the refrigerator. Eddie, his father-in-law, approaches Hutch to discuss his fair offer to buy his business. He tells Hutch that after a lifetime of hard work, he wants a great offer. After finishing his work and watching the workers on the factory floor, Hutch locks his office door and calls his brother, Harry, through a radio hidden in his office. He explains to him that he refused to attack the attackers when he was young.
What kind?
It was an old .38 special.
Scared and disappointed that their old .38 Smith & Wesson was not loaded. Harry agrees that Hutch is right and warns him not to do anything stupid. Hutch leaves work and goes to see his old father, David, who asks him if he remembers who he used to be. Hutch looks at the photo of the 3 of them with his father and brother Finn, ishes, eats dinner with his father and returns home. Blake barely greets him while Becca asks him about his day at work. Sammy says she can't find her bracelet and the money bowl the intruders stole. Hutch angrily leaves home and prepares for a seemingly serious fight. He goes back to the father's room and borrows his FBI badge and gun. The father asks him to do it well. Hutch goes into town and goes to tattoo parlors and shows them the badge of the FBI. One of the customers laughs and tells him that the badge expired 20 years ago. They ask who is he? He tells them he is just a man looking for someone and pulls out his handle. He dares them to take the cash from him. One sees the tattoo on his wrist and runs away, and the others change their opinion. When the men ask how they can help him, he points to a picture of a tattoo on the counter. They give Hutch the person's address. Hutch walks up to the apartment. The young woman boils the kettle and calls for her boyfriend to come over for dinner when suddenly Hutch walks into the room behind him. He threatens them with a gun and demands they return his daughter's bracelet and watch. Their screams wake up their sick baby, and they beg him to leave. Hutch changes his decision when he sees the sick baby. He walks in the rain and repeatedly punches the wall of the alley. He is overwhelmed by sadness. He gets on the bus and sits at the back. A car approaches quickly and collides with the bus. 5 drunk Russian thugs stop the bus and approach the closed bus door. A young girl is sitting alone. The female bus driver looks scared when she opens the door. They enter and intimidate the passengers as they approach the hatch. Hutch relaxes, sitting in the back of the bus. As they surround the young girl, Hutch stops and walks through them, convincing the driver to get out. He closes the bus door and confronts the thugs while removing the bullets from his gun. Hutch threatens them, and they laugh. He unleashes his frustration and anger and brutally beats them. In this fight, he is thrown out of the bus, and although he is seriously injured, he prepares to fight again and tells the young woman to run away. The brutal fight continues. He sees one of the men loading the gun with bullets and hits him with a steel barrel, snapping the neck of one of the thugs. The annoying man, who is suffocating from the force of Hutch's blow, Hutch prevents him from suffocating by making a cut in his neck and inserting a straw. As Hutch leaves the bus, he apologizes to the bus driver. Hutch returns home to find his wife sitting in the dark. His wife asks him, "Where have you been?" Hutch tells her that it was just a matter of old times and that he misses her, after which Becca gently wipes his wounds. Hutch says she seems so distant and their marriage has no intimacy. He asks her if she remembers who they used to be.
Remember who we used to be?
Becca picks up the pillow, separating them from the middle of the bed, and touches him gently. After that, we see a person who wildly gets out of the car and goes to Malina's club. Yulian Kuznetsov, a Russian mob mafia, takes the stage and sings and dances, then moves through the crowd to a group of men. He asks them if they are satisfied with the security of Obshek. Yulian introduces them to Pavel, who is his right-hand man. The group's spokesperson informs Yulian that his singing and dancing are not inspiring and that he will destroy their trust in him to keep the money. He answers this question by killing one of their shareholders. He asks if their confidence is restored and answers his cell phone. After that, Yulian is standing on his brother's bed. His brother has suffered severe brain damage, and Yulian assumes the attack is related to Obshek. One of the men seriously injured in the ward raises his hand and shows Yulian the Metro card he took during the fight on the bus. Hutch looks happy and confident as he gets ready for his day. He informs his son to be proud of him for standing up to the intruders. Then he gets a phone call from Harry, his brother, who tells him to meet a man called the Barber. After meeting the Barber, he warns him that one of the thugs is Yulian's younger brother and that Yulian is a very rich and dangerous sociopath. The hairdresser gives Hutch the information he needs and says that Yulian still doesn't know who Hutch is. He says that Yulian has to avenge his younger brother. Obshek is an operation that deals with hundreds of millions of dollars in motion. Yulian is the current supervisor of these funds and is tired of this responsibility. He is informed that Hutch's father lives in a nursing home downtown. They are still checking his location. A man at the Pentagon, blackmailed by the Yulian hacker, examines the archive. Information about Hutch is listed as nobody. He sends the information to Yulian's hacker. Then we see Hutch happy, preparing a lovely meal for his family and suggesting they go to Italy. He sees a car approaching and tells his family to go to the basement immediately. Julian sends a crew led by his right-hand man Paul to attack Hutch at his house and capture him alive. Hutch is standing in the dark and cutting off the house's electricity. He begins his attack with the arrival of Julian's men. After killing most men, Paul finally stops him with a stun gun. They drag Hutch to the car and throw him into the trunk, where Hutch breaks his wrist to get the handcuffs off. Hutch finds a fire extinguisher in the car's trunk and uses it to blind his captors. The car's balance is disturbed, and the car crashes into a traffic light. Hutch gets out of the car and sees Paul seriously injured. Before Pavel dies, Hutch talks to him about who he is. He runs home to open the basement door for his family. Hutch and Becca go to the parking lot with the kids. He again asks Becca to ignore his work and give him another chance. Becca also tells him she may do it after this ends. She and the children go to a safe place. Afterward, Hutch places the dead on the couch. Meanwhile, one of them, who is injured, survives, and Hutch starts talking to him. He explains that he is just a simple auditor and was previously an assassin hired by intelligence agencies to kill people who were untouchable or too challenging to catch. He did his job professionally until he abandoned the target he was supposed to kill. His target was a person named Alan, one of the government embezzlers. He, who usually paid no attention to the begging of the victims before his death, prefers to listen to Alan's words in this case and then consider saving him from killing him. A year later, Hutch finds Alan has built a new life and family and is very happy. The life that he always dreamed of, and when he saw it, he was jealous of Alan. After that, he realizes that the injured person is now dead, and suddenly, his eyes fall on Sammy's missing bracelet, and he picks it up. Before leaving, he tells the dead that bones turn to ash at 1500 degrees. He sets the basement of his house on fire. Then he steals his proud neighbor's prized car and drives away from the house while everyone around is watching. After this, a car with two killers who came from Julian arrives at the nursing home. They go straight to David's room, Hutch's father. They approach him while he pretends to be asleep. David immediately kills them both. Hutch goes to the company, puts a bag full of gold bars on the table for Eddie, and gives him an offer to buy the company. Unlike Eddie, Charlie disagrees, and Hutch hits him and says his unemployment has nothing to do with him. Julian watches news footage and learns that Pavel has been killed. Hutch shuts down the factory temporarily. His desk is covered with guns and ammunition. Harry calls him on the radio, and Hutch tells him he has a plan. However, Harry says I won't help you, and Hutch hangs up. He drives to where the mobsters are counting the money. He sneaks into it and fills the fire extinguisher with gasoline after killing the guards. Hutch burns Julian's money while he performing music and enjoying his singing. Hutch picks up a Van Gogh painting before continuing. He heads to the gym to meet Julian and his men. After finishing his performance, Julian sees Hutch eating dinner before him. He tells him that you are courageous to come here, and after that Hutch reveals an explosive device hidden under his coat. Julian gets scared when he sees it and asks his people to go away. Julian gets very angry when Hutch tells him about the destruction of the money. Hutch has burned all his possessions. He gives him a choice and tells him not to follow him, and now that all the money is gone, he suggests that Julian himself can take what's left and run away. Hutch leaves the club with an explosive device in hand. Julian angrily orders all his men to kill Hutch. After a fierce fight between Hutch and Julian, he reaches the factory, and Julian is still chasing him. First, Harry kills several attackers with a sniper. Unbeknownst to Hutch, David and Harry are inside the factory to help him take down the gangsters. They are using a variety of weapons and deadly traps that Hutch had strategically set up. When the gangsters enter, David, Harry, and, of course, Hutch kill all the armed men except Julian, who shoots Harry and wounds him. Hutch approaches him with a bulletproof glass door and kills Julian by detonating his explosive device. He thanks David and Harry as he hears a police car siren as he leaves. Hutch calls Becca and leaves a loving message. Then, a kitten appears. He picks up a can of tuna and a can opener and leaves, carrying a painting and a kitten. The police arrest Hutch, and he says I am nobody during the interrogation. After contact with the interrogating police officers, he is quickly released. 3 months later, while shopping for a new house with Becca, Hutch receives a call suggesting that his services are still needed. They ask the realtor if the house has a basement. And after that, in the end credits, we see Harry and David driving along the coastline in a truck full of RV. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel.